Coming up on All About Android, it's me, Jason Howell, my co-hosts Ron Richards and Florence Ion, and our guest Joshua Vergara. I review the OnePlus Watch, which I have on my wrist right now. Also, we talk about Google I/O 2021, the virtual version. Carriers combined, the U.S. carriers combined RCS effort is dead. Google wants you to not text and walk at the same time. Plus a whole bunch of your emails and more next on All About Android.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hello and welcome to All About Android, episode 520, recorded on Tuesday, April 13th, 2021. Your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, apps, and wrists. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Florence Ion. And actually, I'm sorry I'm doing this live, but this little part has changed.
It has.
I'm going to take a part.
So
I'm going to take a
for
part
our
of the intro just to announce my life change.
For
Sorry.
audio listeners, Flo is pointing to her lower third on the video because she's got some exciting news.
Yeah, before what it said there is FlorenceIon.com. You are still Florence Ion, right?
I am. And I am still FlorenceIon.com, but I'm also now Gizmodo.com.
Woohoo!
Congratulations.
You can go see, I put out my first blog right before the show started. So, if you want to go support me, go to my blog, give me some hits.
So let's see here. So you just posted a new your first post on Gizmodo before the show?
I think it should be live. It should be live.
Well,
it's about
go.
Discord.
Let's go check it out. Yeah.
Well, okay. Ron's going to check into that. While Ron's checking into that,
and while we do that, I'm sorry.
Maybe it's some breaking news when we read your article. But want to welcome back to the show Joshua Vergara. What's up, Josh? It's good to have you back on the show, man.
Hi, Josh.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for having me back. And speaking of lower thirds, we're going to talk about this a little bit later.
Yeah, it's a bit of a jumble down there.
But yeah,
we got a lot
thank you for having me on, and thank you for
today.
letting me have that, by the way.
Absolutely. It's all about art, and you've got some cool art to show off.
I'll let you know it was very difficult to type all that.
But Burke, you nailed it. You got it right. Well, welcome back to the show, Josh. It's been a while. It's great to have you here on this momentous occasion. We've got a lot of great tech news to talk about. Before we get there, though, just a couple of things. First of all, Victor, thank you so much. Victor has located the elusive first post of Florence.
I found
Ion.
it too. I love Victor, but I put it in the doc. Victor put it in the chat. We found it at the same time. Good job, Victor. Go team.
Okay.
But we found Flo's first article, which ironically features an image of an iOS device. But it's okay because it's about an iOS app. So yeah. So
I know.
Discord.
It's also about NSFW stuff.
Yeah, Discord's NSFW block on iOS might hurt artists the most by Florence Ion, posted 40 minutes ago. And so Flo, what is it like to slum it having to write about iOS?
Yeah, well, I even put a line in there that was like, will they have to switch to Android now that they can't go to Discord on the iPhone?
Oh no, they have to.
I don't know. I'm trying to work this whole bit where I like report on everything, but I'm like secretly this person who's like
secretly passing people back over to Android.
No, that personality is definitely coming out. The line literally says, and I quote, "Will they gulp be forced to switch to Android?"
Bless my editor
awesome.
for keeping that in.
Congratulations, Flo. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Very congrats, Flo.
You're gonna
That's
kick butt.
awesome.
Yay!
Yes, indeed, as you always do.
Indeed.
Florence Ion is with Gizmodo now, so find all of her future work there. Of course, I'm sure we'll be talking about some of your work on the show as you
I'll be here too.
Yeah,
I'm not going anywhere. I'm here.
No. Yeah. Thank you for that. That is true. And also, before we get to the news, I thought we could spend a few minutes on just a quick kind of retouching on the LG news from last week, because Ron and I and Ryan got to spend a little bit of time reminiscing about, we decided to take a few moments and like pick our favorite LG product or LG, mobile device from years past. Probably
more time than we should have, to be honest.
Probably.
But it was a lot of fun to look back and to remember LG fondly. So I'm glad, Jason, that we're revisiting this. So continue.
Yeah. So, I'm just curious because I'm sure Flo and Josh, I'm sure you both have an answer to that question. Like in your experience of playing around and testing and reviewing and all this, all of the LG devices that you had exposure to in the past. And this could be not just a smartphone. It could be the phones prior to that. But I'm curious to know what each of you thinks to the answer to that question. What's your favorite LG device, mobile device?
Flo, would you like to start?
No, please, Josh. Guests first.
Okay, fair enough. I will say, and this will also include Flo, actually, because I tend to attach memories to the devices that we've covered throughout our careers. And one of the first memories I have with LG when I was at Android Authority was the G4 launch. And one of the coolest things about the G4, aside from the curve and the leather backing, the volume buttons on the back, just really interesting design that it didn't stand the test of time, but I still fondly remember it. What I also fondly remember is that launch event at the top of the One World Trade Center, where we took pictures of using that phone. And then later in that evening, I recorded an Android Authority podcast with Flo and Dom Esposito and Michael Fisher, who at the time was at Pocket Now. And that's still one of my favorite episodes we ever did. It was literally outside on a floating restaurant boat called the Frying Pan.
Oh my God.
And it was one of the coolest
You're making me emotional.
shows.
Stop it.
It was such a good time.
It's been very hard in pandemic because we don't have that. And that's a very fond memory. Thank you for bringing that, Josh. I really appreciate that.
And I have memories with a lot of LG devices. I mean, some of them do involve drop tests because we used to do that. But if I were to bring one of those up, the LG V20 comes to mind because of its tank-like design with that full metal body that still had a removable backing. And I remember dropping that thing in Berlin, which it did a great job until it was screen first. So once the screen it went out.
There aren't a whole lot of devices that could survive the screen first drop. I mean, let's be real.
Exactly. And then aside from that, the G5 with the first ultra wide camera, which I ended up using to vlog the one and only time I ever went to South by Southwest.
You did. And I remember that year.
It was such a good time. Oh, man. So those are the main ones that come to mind. But if I had to talk about more recent stuff, I mean, LG I want to say clearly they were not hitting a stride because of what happened, but it felt like they were starting to pick something up with the Velvet and then the Wing. Who knows what the LG Rollable would have been like, but I got to give them props because in particular, the Velvet had a great example of what the dual screen case could be. A sleeker but still fully functional dual screen. And then the Wing was just fun. I mean, LG used to make a bunch of those kinds of swivel screens in dumb phones back in the day in Korea. And to bring it here into a smartphone was a great move, but alas.
It's kind of
that
like
G5
a parting.
Was ahead.
A parting
the G5
gift.
was ahead of its time, just all that modularity. And they did it when Project Aura was just this rumor in the ether, or not even a rumor, but we had a prototype and nobody was really following through with any of that. And then out of nowhere, LG's like, we'll do modularity. Here you go.
And we'll show you that you don't need it. We'll show you that you don't need it in case you're curious. We're like, here's modularity. And then you're like, okay, this is dumb. Let's move on.
That was the thing though. Like I've been in a lot of conversations about it's very cliche when stuff like this happens, but like what went wrong, and it's everyone has opinions about it. I remember if I were to think of the G5, number one, they didn't even continue that idea. Like the entire team, I learned the entire team that came up with this concept ended up leaving shortly thereafter. Whether leaving actually means they were removed is a different story, but they weren't able to continue those ideas. And even then, like casual users with the G5 got all of these extra instructions on like you have to remove the battery at an angle. There are all of these little quirks that they had to keep in mind, and it wasn't as user friendly as it needed to be.
It wasn't as friendly. LG Friends. Remember that was their name. Which, if you're going to call those things LG Friends, like they should be friendly to use. And yeah, it was a little janky. But I give them props for trying.
You really had to think about it.
Yes.
Look at that.
Cool.
Well
the
done.
Best jokes take like a split second of pause and silence before everybody gets it. And then
well
we
appreciated.
have 2 in a row. Yeah. Now, Flo, what's your fave?
Okay, very quickly, I want to touch upon my favorite LG feature phone, because I know we've covered all like the great LG Android phones, but my relationship with LG started, when, so the Sidekick was very popular at this time. And around this time, Verizon they didn't have the Sidekick, but they tried to strike a deal with LG and Samsung and Motorola even to try and put forth these like texting phones. And so it was the LG Envy.
Yep.
The model number VX9900 was my favorite phone. It came in 3 variants. It came in this green color. It's on the Wikipedia page. It came in a very dark orange, which is what I still have that phone in my closet in the original box. And it came in a silver. And these phones were virtually indestructible. They had a pop-out keyboard. I used to write LiveJournal posts, and
wow.
Yeah. And I used to check my Yahoo email through the mobile web on that phone, and God, just all the fast typing. That phone was really great.
It was.
And I gotta, it's too bad LG can bring that into the Android revolution, I suppose. Smartphone revolution, maybe.
Well, that's really interesting though, because I feel, we're spending more time on this than we should, but last week when we were talking about LG and like their, all this facts coming out about their lack of any marketplace dominance. I think I saw one post that like they never had more than like 2 or 3% of the market share across the entire industry in the smartphone area, right? And you really got to imagine that in LG land, they had years of being successful cell phones, right? I had an LG flip phone. I had a like when I went to Verizon, I got a gray, flip phone that did that. They had the Envy. They had all these great phones before the smartphone revolution. And I'm speaking anecdotally here. I don't know what their market share was pre-smartphone era, but it feels like they had pretty decent penetration because those phones were just kind of stupid. They just did what they had to do. And then smartphones roll around and they just never seem to be able to get their footing, and they never stuck to an idea long enough to make it work. And as we saw, they it was like some ridiculous number of back-to-back quarters of loss versus profit. They just were pouring money into a garbage well, and just so I mean, it's no wonder that they got out of the business, but I'm sure that someone was there justifying it, saying, hey, we used to be good at this, why can't we get back there? And I feel bad for them. So
I'm sure that was a lot. Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of people inside pushing for that. That's why they continued to try. I will say, Flo, that was mine too. I had that phone. That was my favorite from last week as well. So
we are the same. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
No, you don't need to be sorry. I feel like we're on the same team. I loved that.
No, I feel, I always feel bad when I don't watch the show and I'm not on it. But guys, new job. It was a lot. You don't need to feel bad. It's all good. It's all good.
On the topic of the dumb phones, why is it that nobody talks about the LG chocolate enough? Like, I feel like it's not getting enough respect, because that was such a trendy phone back then, and I feel like not enough people in these conversations are like giving it its props. Like, I'm looking at it right now, and I'm like, man, that was one of those phones that I wish I had at that time.
Chocolate. It also sounds
all right.
delicious.
So you know what you do, Josh? This is what everybody does right now, right? So hot new trend on TikTok is you play with old tech. So Josh, I think also be great YouTube content for you. I'm giving you free content here. Buy one of these off eBay, a working model, and you should do like a whole, I don't know, just try and do something with it. Whatever you can do in 2021 without the
LG chocolate in 2021.
Yeah. I'm sure you can find these on eBay easily.
You should review it. You should review it like with today's YouTube standards, as if it just came out.
Just super fancy B-roll and like slider shots and all that stuff.
Exactly.
But then it's so good because you have all that new generation camera. So like
Yeah, the rack focus on the phone and just like all that stuff, and you could do like the good music and like I think it will do great for you if you do a series of these retro current reviews. It will do great. People love nostalgia.
I think this is a channel. This is a channel that either already exists or doesn't yet and should. Someone doing like serious 2021 reviews of like 15-year-old mobile phones. Well, but that's
the thing is Gen Z is doing this on TikTok. So us millennials and Gen Xers need to reclaim our space. I'm just saying. Okay,
they are reacting to it with fresh eyes, but like this is a good idea too, though, because I would want to revisit. You know what? Again, putting respect on LG's name, it was the LG Optimus G that jump-started my career. That was my first ever review.
Oh, so, no kidding!
I got to pay that homage.
There it is. Respect.
Okay. There we go. That was September 2012 announced. LG Optimus G. I forgot about that series. Interesting. Cool. All right. Well, LG, we've given you a lot of time on this show over the last couple of weeks. We bid you a fond farewell. Until the next time. Until someone comes along and buys up LG Mobile and respins it up through, as like I don't know, kind of like what happened with Nokia. I could see that happening with LG, maybe. Who knows?
LG has more money.
I think LG is like done. They're done. They're moving on up. All right. That was not the news. Burke.
Nope.
This is the news.
Free attendance this year on Android News.
Free. All right, Flo, you got the top spot.
It's free, but that also means, look, free is good. Free is good, and online is good, especially where we are at in the world right now. And of course, I'm talking about Google I/O. So last week, we learned Google I/O is officially on the books for May 18th through the 20th. Thank God Google did not put it on my birthday again this year. They listened after my request. But not having my birthday, and I appreciate that.
But Flo, do you know what is on your birthday?
Your birthday.
And?
My birthday.
And? Is it your first Mother's Day or your second Mother's Day?
No, it's my second Mother's Day.
Second Mother's Day.
But it is Mother's Day this year. That's right.
This is the one time in 11 years, every 11 years, Flo and I's birthday falls on Mother's Day. So but not Google I/O.
And see, I get double the praise. Yeah. You only get one half.
Yeah, no, I get SOL on the whole day. So
you get ignored, Ron.
Yeah, I get ignored. Whatever. It's just like every other day. So that's fine.
Well, you know what, Ron? At least you'll be at Google I/O with us this year because it is free for all to attend.
That was my thought. Finally, I can go. I don't have to be at the Moscone banging on the window anymore. I can go to Google I/O. I'm so excited.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Both consumer and developer keynotes are planned, and the official lineup is expected later this month. I wonder if they're talking, of course, about the live band that they usually schedule for the developers conference. So I'm very curious to see who does that. Registration is open now for anybody who's interested. And remember, last year's event was entirely canceled. We had no Google I/O at all. So I know that the air is kind of clearing. It's spring. Thank God more people are getting that second vaccine shot. But this is still the safest way to have a developers conference. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Google, I guess, leverages, puts its mouth where its money is and really shows us what it's like to have a cloud-based developer gathering. I'm wondering if you guys kind of feel the same.
Hell yeah, I'm registering literally right now. Literally, I'm doing it.
You don't have to sit on a lawn or slather on sunscreen. You could just be at home in your jammies.
But I like that.
Or in bed. I mean, I will admit, I have done a lot of briefings, like just turning it on, leaving my camera off, and going back to lie down.
Honestly, that has been the I try to have the upside. At least the upside is I could just be here with my kid and watch this OnePlus keynote. That was kind of nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say, though, obviously, we're all looking forward to when physical shows are going to come back. And shortly after, not to pull focus too hard, but shortly after Google I/O, I'm trying my damnedest to get to Computex because it happens like a week or two after it, because they're doing a hybrid version. So it's I like that they're like easing into it. So there's still some in-person stuff, but then it's all the online stuff. Whereas, of course, Google I/O, even though it's closer, it's going to be all online.
Yeah, it's closer, but I'd be curious to see how other countries have, been doing the pandemic better than us. Should we move on to?
Boy. Wow, drop the mic on that one. I'm curious to watch the keynote and see how many details are or even like products. Do you think there's going to be any sort of like product tie-in? Way it happens in previous years, and sometimes in previous years there were no products. So this could be a productless Google I/O.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
No.
Flo thinks there will be.
So in the registration,
everybody's working. We're all still working out here in Silicon Valley. So I know I have faith that we'll see something.
In the
At
registration,
least a Chromebook.
In the registration flow, FLOW, not FLO. The last question is just for fun, and I thought all four of us could work on this together. We'll do this live. Ready? If you could ask Sundar one question about the future of technology, what would it be? So,
admittedly, I left that blank because I just could not. I was just trying to register, and I just could not. I was like, I don't know. This is a big question to ask me.
Yeah, totally. It did feel like a really big question to suddenly be thrown into.
Existential dread just set in there, didn't it?
I actually did have a response for that one, like, because I registered twice. When the news came out, I registered immediately, and then I got my invite email. So I think I have two for badges for this. But for that one, it's a little bit of a serious one, but the first thing that came to mind was, in what ways should we be leveraging today's technology to create a more inclusive future?
Right.
Like that.
It's great.
Nice.
Yeah. That's a lot better than mine, which is, why do you keep killing things?
Whoa.
And you had to tie your Twitter ID to that. So if he answers it, he's going to say, Ron XO writes in to say,
we are never going to get invited back to Google I/O, Ron.
It wasn't even a question. He just wrote, "Stop killing things." Like,
why? When will you stop trying to make AR a thing?
Oh my gosh.
I think mine had something to do with, like, if smartphones were the 2010, revolution, what is the 2020 revolution? Is it smartphones, or is it something else that you see?
It's Google Glass.
Coming soon? Yeah, well, who was it? Is it Bosworth over at Facebook? Can't remember. I think that was him who made that comment and made news a couple of weeks ago. How, like, he thought the next paradigm wasn't smartphones, that it was, was going to continue to kind of invest deeper into wearables and, AR and VR and watches and glasses, and who the heck knows.
My question, my actual question, is going to be something along the lines of, I'm trying to wordcraft now. How can the future of technology proceed amidst all the competition and consumer unfriendly tactics that are happening amongst our leaders?
That's a good question.
That affect things like messaging and operating systems and all this sort of stuff. So,
that's a good question. I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you know what we aren't going to learn about at Google I/O 2021 probably is the Pixel 5a 5G. I mean, maybe we will, but probably not. So there's a little story here. It's not the most entertaining story, but there is a little story arc here. I think it was last Thursday in the morning, suddenly everybody went bananas because multiple sources told Android Central that Google would be canceling outright the Pixel 5a 5G. They were citing, basically sources were citing the chip shortage, the worldwide chip shortage that's affecting a lot of different companies and their products and everything. So totally understandable if that might be the case, or driving, that cancellation. So everybody just kind of assumed that was the case. Well, a bit later in the morning, Google issued a statement to 9to5 Google, basically correcting the record, saying that it was untrue. Said, no, there's going to be a 5a 5G. So in that moment, Google was forced to kind of confirm that a device that it had not even announced yet actually does exist. They continued to say that the new phone would only launch in the US and Japan, which is far fewer locales when compared to the previous versions of these A phones. A large kind of drop in regions. So Google also stated that a similar release date for this phone compared to last year, which would be after Google I/O. So we're probably not going to hear about this product at Google I/O, but likely sometime in the future. Yeah, you never know, I suppose. That could be
Google I/O is a global event, though. That's the thing. I feel like they would announce it and be like, and over in Japan, we are doing this. Like, it's going to be part of Sundar's keynote as this very, like, low key, like, here's what we're doing overseas with the Pixel program and how we're introducing it to new markets.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, especially now that the news is kind of out there, Google has shown that when they're forced to out one of their devices, they kind of go all in, like, oh yeah, that's.
You might as well. I think that's a good PR move.
That was our plan all along. Was to
they basically respond like it was They basically respond like it was a Google search. It's like, no, Pixel 5a, 5G still happening because someone searched for it. But on the topic of Japan, actually, back in 2019, I was very blessed to be able to go to Tokyo a few times. From what I can tell, Google has a huge foothold in Japan. A lot of the big electronic stores have huge installations for Pixel devices, and they love their Google products out there, I feel like.
That's good to know. See, I'm beginning to understand that there's just so many holes in my reporting and like being in this Android world because I can't venture, my life is not taking me to venture outside of the US very much and like see the other markets. And I think it's very interesting. I appreciate you bringing that up because having like those kiosks, even seeing that overseas, like that is a big tell of what is selling with a particular demographic.
Yeah, totally. The Yodobashi camera store or electronic store, which is many, many, many stories. This may or may not be fully accurate, but the smartphone wing is like floor 5, but the Google kiosk and like it's almost like a trade show installation is right at the entrance. And I remember walking in and I was like, whoa, because when I went, it was right after they announced the Pixel 4 and the 4 XL. So I was just like, oh, okay. Like they're already really marketing it hard here. And like there were a bunch of people holding it like, oh yeah, good cameras. And it was interesting to see that.
Interesting. All right. Well, and also from what we have heard about this 5A 5G, it's very similar to the 4A 5G. So, there's not a lot of
5G
iteration going on right now.
I should have made my question to Sundar. Why do you keep naming products poorly?
Although to be fair, that's an industry-wide issue.
Yeah, I know. 5A,
not just Google. They all suffer from that.
Yeah, that's
to some degree.
Anyway, talk about suffering. So some news happened today. A new report shows that the cross-carrier messaging initiative, the U.S. carriers RCS Alliance, which consisted of T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T. We talked about it when this was formed. I don't know, Burke, I don't know if you've got the music queued up or not, but it is indeed dead.
Dead.
Yeah.
DED dead.
DEAD, dead. Yeah. A Verizon spokesperson told Light Reading, who published the report, there it is. The owners of the cross-carrier messaging initiative decided to end the joint venture effort. Prior to this initiative, RCS was a per-carrier effort with incompatibilities between them. But Google came along and rolled out RCS via messages for all Android phones around the same time. And this is worth noting with recent events like T-Mobile recently made messages from Google the default messaging app on T-Mobile phones. Verizon and AT&T haven't done that yet, but will they? Is this the carriers conceding that they didn't have the wherewithal to define what the RCS messaging platform would be, and so they're ceding it to the phone manufacturers? And does this also kill any hope of RCS being the bridge between Android and iOS in some future because the carriers forced it, if the carriers are abandoning it? I don't know. Joshua,
question.
Yeah, what do you think of all this?
To tell you the truth, this is one of those stories where I see like RCS and messaging and messages and all that stuff. And I keep thinking to myself, I haven't even touched the Messages app in forever. Like, I barely use this type of messaging anyway. I know it's important for a lot of people, but it's outside of my wheelhouse because I'm like a Telegram guy. I'm a Messenger guy. I use these other applications that have kind of filled that void when messaging was more of like a iMessage / Apple thing compared to like the Android fragmented ecosystem that had a bunch of other applications that we all use.
Well, it's actually funny you say that because it's like it almost is like everything clicked a peg, right? And so like I barely use email anymore, right? And my SMS behavior has now become very email-y in that I'm getting all these bot, not borderline spam, but like consumer messaging. Like Ben Sherman texts me once a day with a sale code and a bunch of websites that I buy music from and stuff like that are all doing it over SMS now. And so because of that, I've retreated and my personal messaging is now mainly happening in WhatsApp and in Slack. Right. So it's like everything has kind of moved along and I'm curious what the new thing that will come. And then the WhatsApp Slack experience will become more commercial, and then we'll just, but it's funny how it evolves, but it just kills me that we can't get a common platform across all phones. That is very true. It's a crime. So
yeah,
yes, and
I agree with that for sure. It's hard to get everyone on the same page, even when you have like one application that you gravitate to and you're trying to convert everyone to it. It's really hard to get everyone to do it.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think Verizon's just going to keep peddling their like messages service. It's just like
probably.
And not only that, but just that messages service, when I use it's like now it's texting somebody with iMessage, just like this completely siloed system. There's no financial incentive to fix this.
Yeah.
Bottom line. That's why they're not going to fix it.
Yeah. And kind of related to this was the news the last week where someone at Apple basically confirmed, or a number of people confirmed, that the reason that they didn't bring iMessage to Android was because it's a really great lock-in tool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just finished watching. I've been watching in like 20-minute increments the Steve Jobs movie, the Aaron Sorkin script, the Danny Boyle directed, the Michael Fassbender, and watching that and coming out of it again. Every decision Apple's made post Jobs is all tied back into how do we keep people on our platform, and it's completely consumer hostile, like not even anti-competitive. It's just it's like you play with my ball or you go home, and it hurts everyone in the long run because not every. That's the thing. I like a lot of what Steve Jobs and the legacy of Apple has given to us in the world, but what I don't like about it is that mentality, which is no user control, no room for personalization, for it's someone else deciding what's good for you, and it's like, come on. I would curse if I could, but so.
I know, but the thing is, Ron, the thing I'm learning the older I get, people love it. People love not having to think about it at the end of the day.
It's just sad.
I know, but what are we going to do, man?
I know.
Can we just normalize not being discriminatory towards a certain color on iMessage, please?
Yeah, right.
Can we just say that?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what circle I'm in. Somebody brings up that I am a green bubble. Somebody brings up that I have an Android. It's always this like, not even a topic of conversation, but it's just like, it's a bit. Anytime somebody figures it out about me and I'm like, 15th time I've heard this.
It's a comment that whether they intended it or not tells you where your place is in that conversation.
I know, and it is. Look, guys, it bothers me, okay? There's a lot of things that bother me in life, but also this bothers me.
But it's like an immediate. It's frustrating because it's that immediate judgment that you've like maybe you're projecting it, but it's what you feel. Yeah, and it's really unfair.
Okay, now I'm thinking we need another. So all of these all about Android T-shirt ideas that will probably never happen. We need something that's like, we are the green bubble.
All about Android. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
Because then we take ownership, Alliance. And it's like, we are. Boom. Okay,
I like that. Let's do it.
All right. Up next, I'm going to review the OnePlus Watch.
Yeah, you are.
Excited for this.
All right.
Okay, so if you hadn't heard, the OnePlus Watch review embargo has lifted. It happened this morning. You may have noticed it because it was like a sonic boom that suddenly just blasted everywhere.
This watch isn't good.
Oh boy, the reviews have not been kind on the OnePlus Watch. I do, in fact, have the OnePlus Watch. I've tried to get my camera shot set up so that it's good enough, and I think this is probably good enough. So let me touch just really quickly. I thought I would split this review into the good and the bad, because I think that there is good to be found in the OnePlus Watch. $159. Not that expensive for a wearable of this size, which we'll talk about. It's actually on sale starting tomorrow. That's April 14th. So you can get one of these on your wrist starting tomorrow, $159. Okay, so the good. I'm going to start with probably the thing that impresses me the most about the OnePlus Watch, and that's the battery. You get life for days, literally. I charged it to full 8 days ago. I'm still running on the same damn charge.
What?
Where am I at? Yeah. I'm at 10%. So tonight I would charge it. But you know, I've been doing activity tracking. I've been wearing it, every day. As you can see, the screen timeout is very aggressive, even when you set it at its max. I think it's like 10 seconds. So that's probably part of it, right? It charges super fast. 20 minutes on this little puck charger gets you 50%. So it charges it up halfway. On top of the fact that OnePlus rates the battery at 14 days. I'm not getting 14 days out of it, but still for a smartwatch, with an AMOLED display, with an OLED display, and for the functionality that it does have, I think that's pretty darn good. Design-wise, yeah. I think there's aspects of the design that I like a lot. Like I've got large wrists, so admittedly, this is going to work a lot better on my wrist than it is on a lot of other people. It's a 46 millimeter design. So it's a honker. It's big. Where it's not big, in my opinion anyways, is the thickness. It's actually relatively skinny compared to a lot of smartwatches that I've worn. So yes, the face of it is big on my wrist, but I don't feel like it's protruding out like I don't even know what to compare it again, like a stack of books. It feels kind of slim enough on my wrist that I don't feel like I'm protruding and going to run into somebody. The display is nice. It's an OLED display, 326 pixels per inch. Everything's sharp, vibrant colors with that OLED display, all that kind of stuff. It has the two little side buttons on the side, and I'm doing my best to show this on the camera. It's kind of out of my reach. The side buttons are actually nice in the sense that they're kind of the perfect depth. They don't protrude out so far that you accidentally bump them when you rotate your wrist like that for whatever reason. So that's good. Like I said, price $159, relatively inexpensive. That's half the price of what you get on a Galaxy Watch 3, which a Galaxy Watch might be a good comparison from a design standpoint, and the fact that OnePlus is really targeting this to be like a fitness watch of sorts. Software, I would say, given what it's capable of, is all right. Like, I mean, and from a speed perspective, I'm going to get to what it actually does later, and now it's not really being responsive. But I didn't find myself, as I was kind of thumbing through the watch interface, going, God, it's really slowing me down. Like it feels fast enough to move around. And then it has some extra features underneath, like a blood oxygen reader. It's got a health rate monitor, a continuous heart rate monitor, so continuous heart rate monitoring, which can be nice. And that's great. I can stick it on the puck and it's charging. You can see it's measuring even though it's not on my wrist. I don't know why it's doing that, but apparently it decides it wants to show off. Okay, those are the good. Now we get to the bad. And the bad is probably what you've read in all of the articles. This is the majority of everything that everybody is writing about. Battery life is good, yes, but that's probably because it's very limited. Like it doesn't do a lot when you compare it to a lot of other wearables out there. And I'm going to get to more on that in a second. Basically, the bad, by the way, is like lots of no's. No always on display option. There's no way to have the display always stay on. It's always going to time out for you. And what I hate is when the display is off and I want to turn it back on, there's no tapping to wake it up, which is always my go-to. It's like, oh, I want to see what time it is. Tap, tap. Instead, you have to hit the button. And I know that sounds like a stupid distinction to make, but in daily use, it makes way more sense for me to just tap the display instead of have to reach over to the side, but whatever. Design of the watch, I mean, it's basic. Like, I like the design, but it is a pretty basic design. That's not really the thing I dislike the most. The thing I dislike the most is the capability of the software there, which, like I said, a list of no's. No third-party watch face support. No calendar integration. So if you want to use your watch to like keep tabs on what you've got coming up and everything, you can't do it. No SMS integration. It integrates with some messaging apps, but not an SMS. Notifications are pretty dumb. I mean, okay, so there's a notification. If I had a row of notifications and I want to get rid of it, I can't swipe it away. I can clear all. So if I had a whole row of notifications, I could clear them all away. That's basically what I could do with notifications. And notifications come through really delayed. Like, I've had times where I know I got a notification like minutes ago, and then suddenly beep, 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 all three of them come through at once. Maybe that's an issue with the app, which I'll talk about in a second. No app store. So what you see is what you get as far as apps are concerned, which, I mean, as you can see, I'm doing my best to show it. A lot of activity-based stuff. Down at the bottom, you've got, some music controls. That's limited as well. I don't think there's something about no Spotify support. I didn't test that myself. You've got your alarm clock, your stopwatch, your timer, stuff like that. You can control a OnePlus TV if you live in India and have access to a OnePlus TV. It's just really basic and really, so for instance, if you have a favorite running app, because this is really targeting itself as a fitness watch, right? If you have a favorite running app, you're out of luck. Like, even though this has GPS built into it, you can't install third-party apps, so you can't use your Strava app or whatever the case may be. You can use OnePlus's solution to sync this over to the OnePlus Health app, which is pretty underwhelming in and of itself. It also has NFC, which is great, except for the fact that you can't use this for mobile payments. It's like one after another of no's on this list, where it's like, okay, I get that it's $159. It's an inexpensive smartwatch compared to others out there, but so many of the basic functionality that you should be able to get seamlessly and consistently, excuse me, you just don't really get out of the OnePlus Watch. I mentioned the Health app. Here, I'll click that on there. I mentioned the Health app. This is how you, this is how you sync over, of course, everything from your, okay, go away, from the activities that you do on the watch over to the app. You can connect it to Google Fit, so at least it has that. But right now, it's only tracking 14 exercise modes. They promised 110. They say that's coming in a May update, so you're buying this on a promise. Many of the software features are fitness-based, so like I have to imagine that iterations coming in the future are going to focus on improving the reliability of some of those features. But like pedometer readings are all over the map. It's just, I don't know. And this app is what you use to update the watch, by the way. So we did get an update like yesterday that brought over something like 50 watch faces and stuff. I don't know. I can show you just a few of them. But so there's updates coming. Everybody seems really, really down on this watch, and I get it. I feel like as a smartwatch, it's nowhere near the best or even a really great option for most people. Having said that, I think for $159, if you are in the very small minority of people that really just want a very basic smartwatch that has some of those basic fitness functions can tell time and do things like a compass or whatever. And like I said, I'm talking about a small minority of people that just want a smartwatch that doesn't overcomplicate things. Then maybe you'll be happy with this purchase. But that's a really small group of people. For everyone else, I just feel like it's really hard to recommend the OnePlus Watch right now. And I feel like I'm being tame compared to a lot of the reviews that are out there.
Yes,
I'm giving some leniency here. There are some people that this might be okay for, but are you that person? You're not going to know until you get it, and you might just be upset that you did.
I mean, from what I was reading, which I did read my colleague Victoria Song's review of it today, and got to hear about it, her experience, and I was reading through Twitter today as well, and there's definitely across the board a lot of folks on the same page about the watch. I think the thing that was really frustrating for reviewers was that we're spending all this time talking about where Wear OS is or isn't going on the Android side of things. We're spending a lot of time sort of complaining about how siloed wearables are for Android users. It just feels insulting that OnePlus would try to push forward a phone without having the software ready for review. I mean, my understanding was the health app wasn't even ready till last night or something like that. So that doesn't really let you test something and put it to the brim, especially if it's something that's supposed to be competing with the Galaxy watches. And the thing is, Jason, you were saying about how it's $150 for this watch. So is an old Samsung watch that they will still be supporting for a little while longer. That does, it still does wireless payments through Samsung Pay. Yeah, whatever. It's annoying, but it has NFC on the watch. You can do all that. Has all your tracking. It's, it's pool proof. You could take it in the pool. It's hard to bring a smartwatch into this. And it does look good on you, though. I do agree that it's really nice display. Looks really good on your wrist too.
It is pretty nice, and I do actually have one on my wrist right now. As far as
good on your wrist as well.
I really like the fit and finish. This is one of the most attractive smart watches, and I'm going to put that in hard air quotes. And I'll explain why in a second. As far as reviewers were concerned, we actually did have the software. It was provided in an APK. So if there are any reviewers out there that are I couldn't test it because the software wasn't even ready, it went on the Play Store yesterday, but we had APKs prior to that. Yeah, we had access to those before. I wonder if some people might have whiffed on seeing that in the in the Google Drive that was sent to us. But in any case, the disappointment behind this watch is that they did manage to make it exude some of the philosophies of Oxygen OS. The fit and finish is nice and breezy. It's very easy on the eyes. Like you said, Jason, it's not a very thick watch. And I actually have a competitor, what I would call more of a competitor to it than the Galaxy Watch or any Wear OS watches. I have an Amazfit T-Rex Pro. Also have to review that. That is a chunker. That is even bigger than some G-Shocks. So it's nice to see something so sleek that actually has the battery life that it has. And then the software, I was initially very impressed by it because it just looks very minimalistic, the same way that you would look at Oxygen OS. So I was really liking the font that they chose, and all of the elements were quite clean. I was really into that. But as you said, the actual experience of using the software is very inconsistent. I'm not a distance runner, or I don't do much distance activities or anything like that. But if the GPS is not able to give you an accurate rating of how far you've gone, that's a big deal. That's really bad. And if you're looking for a smart wearable that might be able to do certain things like notifications, like being able to connect to your phone and sync up with a few things here and there, you are actually better off getting something like a Mi Smart Band, because those are tried and true, and they come in at almost a fifth of the price, which is why I would call something like this, and even the Amazfit T-Rex Pro, the term I use is it's a sheep in wolf's clothing. It's a fitness band with the most basic of functions, but they're trying to dress it up in an actual watch body. That's not a bad thing inherently. The T-Rex Pro is actually a pretty great wearable. But here, it's like what I saw Mr. Mobile put out his video earlier today. You get what you pay for, and I kind of tend to agree. It's disappointing because I love wearing it just by virtue of how it looks. It's just not a very functional device.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I am have enjoyed having it on my wrist, because usually when I put a smartwatch on my wrist, it's so big that like it's almost hitting me across the head. It's so big. Like, oh, every time I look down, I see the depth of it and how it rises up so far from my wrist, and it just looks bad to my eyes. And this just really kind of blends in. So I give the design props. Like I know some people think it's kind of a boring design, but I felt like they at least nailed that, which makes a lot of sense for OnePlus. That's one thing that they do really well. When it comes to hardware design and aesthetics, I actually, at least for my own taste, like a lot of what OnePlus does in their hardware design. I think that they produce beautiful phones, and they produced a nice looking watch. Software sometimes can suffer on their phones. Software is definitely the killer here. That's the thing that really takes it down, and that's unfortunate.
I even have that anecdote myself of I may not do jogging or distance, or I may not have paid too much attention to my steps using this, but I did sleep with it, and yet I don't have any sleep records. So yes, I don't know what happened to that.
I have heard of that as well. Yes.
I will say, though, on your phone, I was admiring the fact that it says your stress level is low when mine is constantly at normal. So something's wrong with me.
Don't assume. Like there's inconsistencies with the metering that is on this watch based on somewhat on what I have experienced, but definitely more on what I've read from other people. It seems to be all across the map. I mean, and admittedly, I'm not a daily wearable wearer. Like it's been a couple of years since I've really spent any like length of time wearing day in and day out a smartwatch of any sort on my wrist. So maybe I'm just kind of outside of the realm of the user that would really buy into some of the features that are here. Like I'm not going to sleep with a watch on my wrist. I'm just not going to do it. I have no cares whatsoever in tracking my sleep data, A, and B, sleeping with something on my wrist. Like that's just not me. So maybe someone can find some value out of that. But even there, it sounds like reviewers were having a really hard time with the data, like you were talking about. And, I would imagine that a lot of this stuff could be addressed in future updates, but OnePlus has been teasing this for a while. There's been a lot of anticipation, and it just kind of, they got enough wrong, of which they actually got a lot wrong in the software experience, that it makes it really hard to recommend it for the majority of people right out of the gate. If those software updates come through and it addresses a lot of this stuff, maybe that word changes. They really have to overcome a lot though to get there.
I agree. And I think if in the next, let's say 3 months, they address a lot of the issues that the software has, that $159 price point might even become $129. So we might be looking at a sleeper hit later in the year. But as of now, it's like, get a $30 Mi Band. Like I've been a vanguard for the Mi Bands for a long time. And at that price, it does virtually all the same stuff.
There you go. Yeah, totally.
Here's a question for you. Do you think this is why Carl Pei left?
That's always the question. Anytime we talk about OnePlus lately, it's like, this device, is this the reason? I don't know.
Also, here's something else too. Yeah. Did you know Carl Pei was 31 years old?
Don't tell me that, man.
Or is 31 years old?
Don't tell me that, man. I remember when I first met him as part of Oppo, and then later on as OnePlus. Like that was one of the things I kept thinking was like, you're my age. Yeah, and I feel so terrible now. And to think that Carl Pei could have left because he would rather have nothing than have this.
Yeah,
well, you know what? That's
the truth is we'll not know. We aren't going to know the answer to that. It's easy to speculate why he left. It's easy, but I mean, you know what? It's probably a combination of a lot of things. Maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe he just finally had an opportunity to do something else. Who the heck knows? Yeah. I doubt it was just the watch, but could have been part of it. I don't know.
Cut to an interview later on, and they're all like, "Oh yeah, he was."
So if I had to pick one thing, it was the watch. That's the sound clip from the interview. Anyways, that's the OnePlus Watch. Sure, you can check it out if I haven't scared you away from it.
What a tagline. It's the OnePlus Watch review. sure, ...
Yes. Well, I found myself being like, it's not god awful, but it's not amazing. Like, it's not a good watch, but it's not a horrible watch, but not a bad watch. And I realize even there, when you're kind of waffling between those two places, you're not selling a device like that. Oh, it's not horrible. You should get one. It's not horrible. Like, that's just not a way to sell a smartwatch. So, all right. Up next, we've got some app news. We actually have some interesting app news this week. And that starts now.
So much app news.
Oh, yeah.
So little time.
Earlier, when I was pondering what I would ask Sundar at Google I/O, I made a joke about them killing things, but yet here they are on the chopping block.
Killing things.
Killing things. This is what they do. Our good friend over at Killed by Google's, he's very busy. This time, it's the Google Play Movies and TV app on smart TVs. Wah, wah. Now, this honestly isn't that big of, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. So the Google Play Movies and TV app was already replaced on our phones with the new Google TV app. If you didn't notice that already, you might have noticed that. But now on smart TVs, it's disappearing from Roku, Samsung, LG, Vizio. They're getting rid of it. And as opposed to rolling out Google TV apps for those TVs, instead they're pushing people to the YouTube app. Where you can also, purchase and rent content. The same content that was in the Google Play and TV app is available on the YouTube app, except the YouTube Smart TV app, maybe it doesn't have surround sound, and maybe it doesn't have HDR support for some, and maybe it doesn't have family sharing for new purchases. Basically, It doesn't seem like the YouTube app is a one-to-one replacement for Google Play Movies and TV.
Weird.
So it's just a weird.
This never happens.
Decision.
This never happens, replacing one with another that's feature-light
a little
comparison. That never happens.
Less than. It's like kill the app and go a little less than. They knock you back on your heels a little. So if you were an avid user of the Google Play Movies and TV app on your smart TV, take a close look, and you might need to move platforms or change something or whatever. Just roll out the Google TV app. Maybe it's not ready. Who knows? It's silly.
I am a user, by the way, of Google Play Movies and TV. And I noticed,
was about to ask
by the
if
way,
any of us were.
Yeah. Well, I am I have I've purchased and rented lots of movies through Google Play because they're always giving me incentives. You get free money through the surveys. But I noticed that a couple of weeks ago, I think I rented How Stella Got Her Groove Back. That's what I rented for a movie club I'm doing with my friends. Anyway, it defaulted me to YouTube. Didn't used to do that before. And I was kind of looking at oh God, here we go. They're about to start moving me to YouTube for all my rentals. So consolidation, I think that's what's going to happen. And I need to look closely because on my Samsung Frame TV, I was using the NVIDIA Shield Pro. I've recently moved to the new Chromecast. And I've been trying to, use that as the daily driver, mainly because, and we should have included this in the rundown. Did you guys know that the Apple TV Plus app is now on Chromecast? Yes.
Which I find hysterical. But now I can watch this. There's a new season of Mythic Quest coming up, and so I don't need to hook my laptop awkwardly up to the TV to watch it again, which is great. And so that's why I moved over to the Chromecast app. But I went to rent my first movie, and it was a very because I was so used to going to the Google Play TV and Movies app and renting there because my library was there, I did everything there. So so Google TV. I don't know if they're going to push to YouTube in the same way we saw Google Play Music push to YouTube. That can't bode well.
And I see what you're saying. That people are just going to default to Apple to rent those movies.
Yep.
I think what I'm worried about is if the plan is, on smart TVs, you get your video content through the YouTube app. But if you're on your smartphone, you get your video content. Well, you can get it through the YouTube app, but you also get it through the Google TV app, which is where we prefer for you to get. And then we end up in this splintered mess again. It's like, okay, so now I need to do math. like in order to figure out like where I'm supposed to be depending on the platform that I'm using, instead of just making it easy and saying this is the app that all of your content is in, and it's this way everywhere that we have your content, and that's just where you go. So,
well, the Google TV layer aside, I have been seeing a lot on the YouTube app, and I use it across many different devices, that movies have started to pop up, especially recent ones. Then it's like you can buy or rent or anything like that. So clearly they've been slowly pushing for that to be the case. And then, of course, in the same app, over on the sidebar, there's a music tab. There's YouTube Music. So to consolidate everything into the one YouTube app, it low-key makes sense to me, because if Apple TV is going to start showing up on Chromecasts and smart TVs, they want to make sure that, because YouTube will sit right next to it. It's a built-in service. So if they're able to consolidate everything, it can fight back the encroachment of Apple TV onto these platforms that were originally a lot more Googleified, let's say.
Yep.
Right.
True. So the Google hatchet doesn't stop there, though. The Google Shopping app is also going to be dying a death in June. They announced that. Yep. The Apple instead point people to shopping.google.com. And they say where quote unquote all of the functionality of the app will be accessible. But as we've learned with this, the odds of all the functionality being there are probably slim. But we'll find out as that goes. But less about Google Play Music and TV and movies. Aside from Jason, does anyone else actually use the Google Shopping app? Flo?
Yeah,
no, I've never used it.
Never used it.
I used it just to validate the fact that I would have gone to Amazon anyway. So when the first link is Amazon, what's kind of the point of Google Shopping? And that's just my thought.
Yeah.
I mean, I go look for it on Amazon first, which is terrible. God.
Yeah, you're not alone, Flo. Don't think that you're alone in that.
With all the news the last couple of weeks, it's like
we are all part of the problem. We are all part of that problem. Yet we keep doing it.
I'm A-okay with it, just so you know. It's very convenient.
Yeah,
it's hard to break the cycle, and also it's kind of hard to break a cycle that is literally doing its job.
Yeah,
all of the indications behind that
really
cycle.
Well to do.
That's how they get you.
Totally.
That's how they get
you. That's a good point.
That's how they get you. Hey, you know how Google gets you to pay attention while you're walking?
How?
Yeah, that's right. By rolling out a new feature, digital wellbeing. That's right.
Oh, okay.
Hoping we're all segueing at the same time. There's a new heads-up feature rolling out to beta users now for digital well-being that will detect when you are using your phone while walking around. So it will notify you to either watch your step, stay alert, or look up. And this will be aimed specifically at those who are walking distractedly. It's coming to Pixel phones first, according to XDA. And I have a feeling it's going to be a lot like the Android Auto, like pay attention to the road. You shouldn't be using this right now. You're on Android Auto.
Watch out, you're about to step into a manhole.
Wouldn't that be great? Like stairs incoming. Like that would be something that I'd be down for.
No, I think this is like I can't tell you guys how many times, and I'm not proud of this fact because I thought I was better than this, having lived in the city for 8 years. But I've been that girl that people shove out of the way because I'm like trying to find directions on my phone in like downtown San Francisco. It's like I've really upset people. So this is probably to help people like me be better members of society.
So
I wonder if it is actually going to be a lot like the Android Auto implementation, which is a safety pause. So there's like a ticker.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. And it's a safety pause. You can walk if you want to.
It's going to be so annoying. It's going to be like, okay, let me walk into this alleyway so I can wait for my phone to clear up, which I do anyway.
What is the winner between this feature telling you to look up and then Google's AR Maps navigation feature that requires you to hold your...
AR Maps is so cool though. Like it's actually a really fun implementation. Is it completely accurate? I can't really say. I used it again. The first time that I actually used it was actually in Japan, and it was super useful there because it is one of the most confusing places to be, is Tokyo. So when you bring it up and it realizes that there are certain buildings around, it will just give you the actual. It's like a game. It'll give you the arrows in real time. I personally would use that all the time as opposed to something like Heads Up. But I feel like Heads Up is going to be like an innate layer that just kind of shows up no matter what. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think, I think this is combat like texting and walking, reading and walking. Oh my God, reading and walking. Like,
people are weird. People make odd.
Just sit on a bench and read. You don't need to read and walk. Like, I know it's a good book.
You read on your time.
Like, I am looking forward to the world opening up again, but also not, because these things are going to bother me again.
Yeah. Well, Google might save you. It might shame people into looking up. I'm just wondering if you've got both of those things on the same phone, which one's going to win out? You've got digital well-being telling you to put your phone down, and then you've got your maps telling you to hold it up.
Optional.
So. Interesting. Yeah. They can fight it
optional. Because AR Maps is optional. So if it knows that you're going in that mode, obviously it's going to bypass the thing. But maybe. Digital well-being, Heads Up.
AR Maps also is a huge obvious. Battery hog. AR Maps is also a huge battery hog, so it's a little bit
like all AR.
How good are you going to be getting to your destination when you don't even have your phone anymore? But the other thing I love is this. The other thing I love is this line here that it gives you this disclaimer. It says, "Use with caution. Heads Up doesn't replace paying attention." This is the world we live in.
For the reminder.
It's so sad that we need to say that out loud.
For legal reasons, of course.
It's in there for a reason.
Gosh.
It's in there for a person.
My gosh.
There is at least one person in this world that'll read that and be like, "Oh
yeah."
I guess I can't sue Google if I run into a wall, because they warned me right here on the phone. Okay.
Thank you, Google.
Thank you, Google.
Props, Google.
I want the phone to yell at you. If the phone can yell at you and be like, "Hey, heads up!"
Sound of like an ear-piercing alarm. Yeah.
Can I just tell you guys very quickly, we got a new vehicle for the family, and it has a camera that looks at you to see if you are looking forward or if you don't have your hands on the wheel and all this stuff. So this is what it's like reminding me of.
Yeah. Yep. Our technology is becoming our nagging
Instead
technology.
of assistive driving, it's assistive walking. That's what they should market it as. I think that would go really well with the general public.
If you're wearing wireless, if you're wearing Pixel Buds, then you'll get a notice in each ear that tells you to step with that leg. It'll say right, left.
We think you'll really love it.
That's actually a pretty interesting idea, though. If you could, in all seriousness, if you could tie in subtle left-right audio cues to indicate direction when getting maps. Like when you're getting walking directions, like the pinging gets louder on the left side, meaning you should turn to the left. That could be an interesting use case.
Yeah, warmer, cold.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that you're turning that into a serious product, Ron.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there you go, Google. There's a free product.
There you go.
Another free idea.
Yeah.
I would lose my mind if just the Google Assistant voice was like, "You're getting warmer. You're getting warmer."
It's awesome.
Ding, ding, ding. Love it. All right. And finally, who likes $30 on this podcast? Yeah. Are you ready to work for it? Ready to do some work?
Hey,
Google.
Does it mean buying things, Jason?
Does it mean what?
Does it mean buying things and spending money?
Yeah.
It does.
And inviting friends.
So yeah, it's got definitely some challenges attached to it. It's a springtime challenge as part of the new Google Pay app. It started now. It runs through the end of the day on April 22nd, so not very long. So basically, the idea is that you collect stamps through doing certain things inside the app. So paying friends, redeeming offers, completing transactions, referrals, of course, activating insights, which is an option of Google Pay. And there's 5 unique stamps that you have to collect before April 22nd. You must collect one of each stamp type. So the types are robin, bear, alligator, elk, and fox. And some of those types are guaranteed per a particular action. Some of them are randomly chosen. So it could be like that thing, like the Monopoly game at Safeway or the grocery store, where like everybody gets all those pieces, and then there's like 2 people in the world that ever get those pieces. I'm not saying that it's exactly that, but it's probably something like that. So every day a new set of actions appears. You have the opportunity to earn more stamps. There's a limit of 200,000 rewards, so they can't make it impossible if there's that many rewards. But anyways, you got 10 days to play the game. You just the problem that I could see is that it actually seems like you got to work pretty hard, well, in this promotional sort of way, for $30 in the hopes that maybe you'll get it. So you could be doing all these things and never get that last stamp. And
Jason, it's Google's MLM. It's Google all getting us to sign up for the MLM. It's the multi-level marketing. Bring 5 friends into the fold, and you too can make $30. That's what this is. We're all hawking shampoo that makes your hair fall out.
These are not easy things, by the way. I'm looking at my list.
No, they're not. They're like, send money to a friend or like request money. Like, I don't need money from anybody right now.
Right.
I'm not just going to ask someone for money.
So I'm starting.
And like, it's a small time window to do those things too, which is just so strange. Where it's like, like one of them is redeem cashback offers at 2 participating merchants, and I'm like looking at these guys, like I don't need to buy anything right now. I don't need. Like,
I don't need anything.
So weird. It's so weird.
Oh yeah, let me just go to Lululemon right now to get this stamp.
Yeah, right. Finally, I've been waiting to drop $35 at Lululemon.
That'll just get you a headband there, by the way.
We're not even going to be breaking even for this $30. Like, it's not going to be in the red.
You're in the hole for it. Yeah.
By the way, it's worth noting that
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention that badge thing, they're doing the same thing for Google I/O. So I think you're, depending on like the sessions you go to or like experiences you do, they'll give you badges. So this is a very interesting, like, this just came out of nowhere. Like, let's do badges, which I'm fine with. But again, the work that I need to do for this is.
People love gamification, Flo. I don't know if you understand this.
They do.
Someone at Google has a deck about gamification, and it's just making the rounds to all the different product groups, and that's what's happening. So
yeah, fine. Just make it easy gamification. Like, tell me I need to go to Starbucks like 3 times in a week. At least I can, justify buying coffee. Like for this.
Yeah, this one is like pay 3 friends or businesses today you haven't paid before. Google. There's a reason why I haven't paid those friends. Let me just tell you.
Because they never offer
my money.
That's
Burke has offered for all of us to pay him. So just saying, if you're looking for someone to give money to, Burke will accept it.
Yeah, Burke says
if we all pay each other right now,
that you can get.
If we all pay each other right now, we can get the alligator.
That's how we do it. Each of us pays the other person, and it's like we haven't paid anything.
Guys, I don't get.
It's a great idea.
In fact, for a while, okay. I just started this job. Come on, I don't have any money right now.
So that's just one of the tasks that we've figured out how to work in our favor. We still have to go to Lululemon and buy yoga pants. So, do I need yoga pants right now? I don't. I have plenty.
Nope. And don't go to Lululemon because they're a terrible, awful, and racist company.
Oh, Jason, are you sure you don't need yoga pants though?
How do you know what yoga pants I do and do not have? Burke?
I'm just saying, I know a lot of things.
You do. It's kind of scary. Okay. I think it's time to transition from this story into, our next segment where we read your emails. If you want to send us an email, you can. AAA@twit.tv, 347-SHOW-AAA. If you want to send us an email with your mouth, you use your voice and you say it instead, and it's a voicemail. Michael sent us this email, and I'm reading it not because I know very much about it, but because I don't know very much about it. I'm curious to know what people think. He says, first of all, I'm a serious podcast tech and infosec junkie, just subscribed to your show. Welcome, Michael. I'm about to get stuck into the show's back catalog and can't wait to see what gems I come across. That's awesome. Dive in, enjoy. There's a lot to find. Michael's question is, I'm trying to decide whether or not to install the DNS66 ad blocking VPN freeware from F-Droid on my Samsung Galaxy Note 20 and was hoping to get your advice or opinion on whether this is a bad idea. I'm really cautious with third-party software on any platform, but this one seems to have a solid reputation. No obvious reports of malicious behavior. I'm reading this because I had never heard of this before, so take anything I say with a grain of salt from that perspective. However, I was doing some searching too. Seems like this has been around for quite a while. It is on F-Droid. F-Droid is an open source marketplace for Android, so that would instantly give some people more of like a positive outlook on this, through the perspective of open source, means that people can see into the source code. That's why it's called open source. So there's a likelihood that if there's something malicious or fishy going on, the community has access to the code itself and they could hopefully see what that is and warn everybody else. Any of the searching that I've done online, Reddit forums, elsewhere, seems to say that it's a pretty darn legitimate way to block ads. It's a DNS-based ad blocker that works on the system-wide. So I don't know. I'm not telling you that it is safe because you probably saw the same articles and comments and stuff that I did. I'm more bringing it up on the show because I hadn't heard about it, and I'm sure some of you other folks who are fans of this show have. So AAA@twit.tv, let me and us and Michael know what you think. Have any of you guys heard of DNS66, the open source software?
Nope.
No.
Lots of head shaking. No. So
no. I mean, I know about F-Droid is very trusted across the landscape. People love F-Droid, especially as an alternative on Android devices. And of course, you can always go by reviews and things of the sort. But hey, Michael, if you belong to any like InfoSec Discords, or maybe you have like friends around who maybe have Discords or like chat rooms, they might be good folks to ask. Just as an aside, I know the community is really good with that. So
yeah. I mean, I get the impression through what I've seen from F-Droid over the years is that if this truly was an app that was like completely malicious, it wouldn't be on F-Droid anymore. Like the community would have had it removed. They're pretty good at that. So
it would have been burning on a stake out front, because that's what I think of with the open source app stores. They're just really raw.
They're raw. Yeah. I'm looking on F-Droid to see if there's like a community like feedback per app, and I'm not finding that. I was hoping that like the F-Droid.
Do they have a Discord? I never even looked. Sometimes these places have Discords, like the developers who manage it.
Not finding it in that post.
They have forums. They have forums that you could do a little Control F.
Yeah. So anyone who's watching or listening who has an idea of this, let us know, because I'm really curious. I hadn't, obviously this wasn't on any of our radar. So like I said, Michael, take that with a grain of salt. Not even Burke, and Burke would be the one who would know about this.
Yeah,
and he's saying in chat that he hasn't heard about it, and I'm not seeing anyone in our chat room that's really saying, "Oh yeah, I know all about that." So. There you go. There's your mixed bag. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but enjoy it. All right, Ron, you got the next one.
Our next email is a follow-up. If you listened 2 episodes ago, episode 518, you heard, I'm going to mispronounce your name and I apologize, but Kobiru Ali from the UK had wrote in about getting blacklisted from Google. And we had lots of questions. And so he followed up with an email and said, I want to clarify what I meant by my Gmail account was blacklisted. Because I used my primary account, Google knows I violated their terms of use policy, but have let me use my account as per quote unquote normal, but they know I've done something quote unquote bad. It was this marker I wanted to remove. If my account was banned, surely all my contributions to Google Maps would disappear too. And he attached some screenshots of that. But he said, So he said, finally, some quick thoughts on LG leaving the mobile markets. Just changing the subject quickly, as well as what others mentioned, I wanted to add the following. They didn't do enough effective marketing, so didn't gain new customers, both in the traditional advertising and getting the phones out to YouTubers to review in a timely manner. The customers they did have, they treated badly and lost them. From the software front, they misjudged how important software updates are, and in fact, Western markets prefer a cleaner, less bloated version of Android. Defects in manufacturing, i.e. the boot loops, didn't help either, as did being behind Samsung's AMOLED display technology. My Pixel 2 XL was pretty awful, as that was an LG panel and not Samsung. So there you go. A lot in one email. Thank you, sir, for the follow-up and explaining the clarification on your account being blacklisted. I'm still baffled by that all happening. And so there it is. So if you couldn't sleep at night over this topic, now you know.
I'm still unclear on the whole blacklisting thing.
Because I know unclear about it. Yeah,
I know that you explained it, but like, where do you see that you know that you're blacklisted? Like, did Google email you and say, "Hey, you're blacklisted. We're going to let you keep your email, but we know that you're bad." Or are you just assuming?
So going back to his first email, he said he was using, what happened was that he was using the Aurora store for a year on his NVIDIA Shield to get more apps than the Android TV Play Store. And then he said a few days after using it, the search function on it stopped and was acting weird. And then he found out that was
his indication.
So now what he's saying is that what they've done was that they've identified a violation of terms of use, and he's allowed to use his account for normal, but they know he's done something bad. What can't you do? Like, you can't use the Aurora app on your NVIDIA. Like, I think there might be a little something definitely is fishy in your ecosystem, but I think you're giving Google a little too much power in terms of what they can and cannot do with it, especially if you still have access to your account and can use it. If you violated the terms of use and they terminated you, all your reviews on Gucci Maps would be gone. Your email would be gone.
Your Google Photos and all that.
They're not going to hesitate to shut you down if you've truly done something bad. So
there's a tone of guilt in a lot of that first half of that email, where it's like, I know they know I've did something bad. You know, it's like, but you're still able to use your account still. You haven't lost all your data. So it seems like even if you have a demerit, let's say, it doesn't seem like you're fully blacklisted, because I feel like in the tech overlords with their algorithms and everything, if they found you were doing something bad, you would have gotten punished.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, they'll bring down the hammer if they need to. Right. So
I wouldn't worry about it. It sounds like maybe you're sweating it a little bit more than you probably need to. I think you're all right.
And
you're all right in my book.
Can I respond to the latter half of that email? Because it's another part, it's another layer to the LG conversation that has come up that I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts about. The idea that LG, on the one hand, LG's marketing, yes, I agree. They were never really that great at marketing. But to start to put some, and I'm not defending it because I feel attacked or anything, I just feel like factually, I don't think LG and YouTubers, I think putting those two terms in the same breath about LG's demise is kind of a misnomer, because I know, just speaking for myself and speaking on behalf of my colleague Jaime over at Pocket Now, we covered every LG device. And two things can be true. We can be overly critical. I'll even use the term overly, because we actively rooted for LG to be better, and they consistently put out devices that had weird things. Even if we went out of our way to say that the LG phones were amazing, it doesn't stop the fact that when the G7X gets in, or the G7 gets into the hands of users, they don't know what the hell this is. They can't do this right. They can't do this hand thing. So no matter what responsibility a lot of these people think the YouTubers have as far as LG's demise is concerned, it doesn't change the fact that consumers, once they get their own hands on the devices, will run into the same things that we ran into in our reviews. So what kind of influence do you really think us YouTubers truly had over the fate of LG? I wonder where that mentality comes from, because I saw a lot of it in the days that followed LG's news. That I was like, oh, well, these YouTubers who are reminiscing about LG never even bought the phones. And they're all like, that's kind of how this industry works. We got things called review units.
Right. I think there's a lot of assumption that people reviewing have way more and I fall into this category too. I just reviewed a damn watch on this show, that we have way more like sway over the industry than we probably do, we're or over the demise of a company. Like I gave that watch a poor review, but I'm not like the reason that OnePlus, shuts its doors in 6 months. It's probably, it's probably a whole lot of other things, but it's not some random guy online talking about a watch and how he didn't like it. So we don't have that much power. We're just talking about our thoughts on a device. That's all it is. Yeah.
It's just funny. I'm not a drama YouTuber by any means. It was so interesting to me in the days that followed. There was like on a low scale. It wasn't like widespread or anything, but it was just interesting seeing this kind of weird little infighting that was happening in the quote unquote influencer community.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed that as well. Indeed.
Okay. Tati Westbrook, should we get to our email of the week? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we should.
Sorry, I called you Tati Westbrook. Josh.
Oh, me? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize that was me.
It wasn't really you. I kind of just meant it anyway. Here's our email of the week.
Tati Westbrook is. I'm only now pulling it up. Sorry. Okay. Tangent.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Oh, it's okay. You don't need
email of the week.
This email of the week comes from Patrick Olson. Patrick writes, my favorite series of LG phones is the LG Stylo series. Sure, Samsung first came out with the Note series, but that series has always been more expensive than most flagship phones. LG really brought it to a whole different market that had never experienced the Note series. As someone that occasionally enjoys drawing, this is a great option. The LG Stylo 3 was my first Android phone. The battery on my iPhone 5S kept dying on me. When it went on sale, I purchased it. Granted, the stylus is a bit thin, but it still works and made these phones stand out from other budget phones. I've enjoyed the Stylo 3, 4, and 5. And that was our email of the week. And I tend to agree with our email of the week is that the LG Stylo, exactly. I'm sorry I'm not doing the bit fully committed this week, but it's because I'm out of practice. But I do love that Patrick wrote in about the Stylo because I feel like that was one of the sort of unmentioned hero of the mid-range to low-end phone world. And I thought about that too with the news about LG going away, is that what is going to happen to all those mid-range to low-end phones that people were relying on because they were fitting a niche.
It's true. There's going to be a void. Yeah.
I didn't have much, if any. Like, I'm trying to think if I ever really had any time with an LG Stylo.
No, because it wasn't like a popular, it wasn't a YouTuber spectacle. It wasn't something that you could that would look amazing on 4K. It was just like, here's a phone that works and gives stylus support to people who just need like simple stylus support and don't want something overpowered, maybe like the Note series.
Right. But it was an alternative to the Note, which, has been a popular device category. So, and one of very few, like there aren't a whole lot of phones out there that are like Note-alikes, but the Stylo was one, and for less money.
Maybe Samsung should consider making those low-end phones again, an A Note series,
a budget Note.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like
that
with
idea.
Their A series,
an A Ultra. You never know. They've actually that doesn't sound too crazy. I wouldn't be surprised. Patrick, thank you so much for writing in. And I think we've reached the end of this episode of All About Android. Covered a lot of ground today. And I want to thank you, Josh, for being our guest today. And it's just always great to have you on the show. Always enjoy having you. Now, we're at the point of the show where you tell us what the heck is going on with your lower third.
What is going on?
What is that?
Let me say real quick, thank you again, everyone, for having me. I always love being on. So what's going on with this URL down here is I'm part of a competition. It was just like a random email that I got where this Japanese knife company called Nakano Knives, they invited me to be part of a competition where we just sculpt, like it's fruit sculpture. So you can take any fruit and you can just cut it up and create like artsy sculptures of it. Now, it can be anything from very complicated things like carving an entire dragon into a watermelon, or like what I did here, which was I made little Super Mario mushrooms using apples and bananas. And then in the background there, and you'll see it coming up, is a pineapple with the Mario star carved into it. So credit where credit is due. I had my mother helped me with this because we were trying to brainstorm how exactly we were going to create these shapes. So I needed some synergy there. So we created this like whole mess of them. So this is my entry, and the grand prize. I only have 74 votes. There's already other entries that have like 1,000, over 1,000. So I'm going to be doing a big marketing push over the next number of days.
Yes.
The competition ends on Monday. So if anyone out there is listening, the URL is where you can vote. And the grand prize is a trip to Japan for 2. So
Nice.
yeah, I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I really want a gun for this because it would be a great little vacation for me and Issa, who, by the way, if anyone's keeping score, any fans of mine, I haven't seen my girlfriend Issa, who lives in the Philippines, since January of last year.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, wow.
Oh man.
I know.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this would be a wonderful way for us to get together again. And on top of that, Japan's one of our favorite destinations. So I just wanted to kind of throw something in. I'm actually going to promote this on like YouTube videos that are coming up and see if I can harness the power of my YouTube audience for this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice.
So thank you, by the way, for letting me have the URL here. I emailed Jason and I was like, can I ask something weird? Can I put the
Sure.
URL
Why the heck not? So the URL for
It's
our
a fun
audio
story
listeners.
too.
Yeah, totally. For our audio listeners, it's long, but I'm going to read it one time for you. Nakano, NAKANO-knives.com/fruit/ and do the caps matter in this last part of your URL?
I don't think they do, but it is all capital. What would normally be my social media handle, JV Tech T.
And that's, JVTECHTEA. Might just be easier to look at the video version and just do a little freeze frame, or you can go to twit.tv/AAA and find the show notes for today's episode. We'll have the link in there as well. Thank you, Josh. Always fun talking Android with you and all the other tangents that we get into.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And by the way, sorry I went off tangent on that whole LG thing earlier. It's just whenever I see someone bring up that kind of stuff, it's one of the only things that like kind of triggers me from last week about all this news about LG.
Yeah, no worries.
Which I think is fair and valid. I think that totally is a good because I heard a ton of that as well. So yeah, good for you for saying it. Good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Flo, I think I know what you're going to promote, but what do you want to promote?
I have a new job. I work for Gizmodo now. So
I got a new job.
But I'm also still doing this job here at All About Android. I'm doing my other job at Relay FM, which is my podcast with Andy and Notco, where we do talk about awful YouTube people like Tati Westbrook. So if you're interested, please come to the Relay FM network, listen to me there, and read my stuff at gizmodo.com.
Right on. Congratulations again.
Thanks.
Yeah. And what about you, Ron?
So the usual, just follow me on Twitter and over on Instagram at RonXO, and head over to scorebit.io where you can check out all the great pinball stuff that we got going on over there, and go to the Google Play Store and download the Scorebit app and keep track of your pinball scores and have fun with your friends playing pinball because it's the best. So there you go.
Indeed.
That's it.
Hey, I got a question for you, Ron, just real quick, totally unrelated to anything except pinball. Do you have a pinball machine in your house?
It's funny you should ask. I actually have 2.
Okay.
Previously, I did not have any because we were in a 1-bedroom apartment. But as I've mentioned, in December, we moved into a house, and at literally the week we bought the house, I had an opportunity to buy one of my all-time favorite pinball machines, and the same place that I bought that one from had another one of my favorite obscure titles. So I jumped the gun and grabbed it, and they're both sitting in my garage, and I finally have pinball nearby. So which is in fact, I'm going to play a couple of games after the show. So so I have
awesome.
the aforementioned favorite pinball machine is from 1993, 94. It's made by Data East, and it is Guns N' Roses. Themed after a great band, Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
And then the obscure game I have is a game it's from 1986 by Gottlieb, and it's a game called Raven. And what happens in the world of pinball is that a lot of pinball machines are like themed, like Guns N' Roses is they pay a license to the band and do the theme of that. You see a lot of movies, like recently, like there was a Stranger Things pinball machine that came out and stuff like that. This Raven pinball machine, they meant for it to be a Rambo themed machine, but they couldn't get the license or didn't get the license. And so they just turned it into Raven, and they got a model to dress up with like a headband and in like camouflage and hold a gun. And they took pictures of her, and the whole game is like a jungle kind of, Rambo, like, the snipers pop up and there's a helicopter and all that sort of stuff. It's clearly meant to be Rambo, but they made it a sexy lady Rambo called Raven. So.
Oh, it's a sexy lady Rambo. Heck yeah.
So it's like super mid 80s. It's really good. If you Google it, just look up Raven Pinball. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's very funny. So I did not remember that I have children when I bought that game, but I'll explain it to them when I'm older. So.
Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah, Burke found it. Yeah, Burke found it, right? Yeah. There it is on the right. Yeah, that's the artwork there. You can see it's there it is. Yep.
URL in the chat, by the way, for the pin side.
Yeah, it was meant to be Rambo, but they didn't get the license, so it's Raven. So,
Close enough. Close enough. Basically the same thing. That is amazing. One of these days, I will get out to your neck of the woods and I will come over and we will play pinball because
I can't wait.
That sounds fun.
I love it.
Thank you, Ron. Also, big thanks to Burke at the studio for switching and chiming in at times throughout the show and doing the news bumper and all that stuff. Also, thanks to Victor helping out behind the scenes to bring you the edited version of this show each and every week. We appreciate you, Victor. As for me, Tech News Weekly, this show, Hands on Tech, everything here at TWiT. So twit.tv, you're already there. But if you're not, go there and you'll find me on shows. That's it. Don't forget to keep wearing a mask. Keep saving lives. Appreciate that you're doing that still. And that is it for this week's episode of All About Android. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We publish this show every Tuesday evening at twit.tv/AAA. That's the only place you really need to remember. Go there. You can find everything you need to subscribe in audio, video formats, YouTube. Jump out to your podcatcher of choice. Everything is there for you to find. Thank you so much for watching and listening each and every week. We'll see you next time on All About Android. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I want to tell you about my show, Hands on Photography, here on TWiT TV. Each and every week, Thursday that is, I like to sit down and share with you the best tips and tricks that are going to help make you a better photographer. And it's not always about Photoshop. It's not always about just having the biggest and baddest and bestest camera. It can be the simplest of things, like leave your eye open when you're looking through the viewfinder. All of these simple tips can really help step your photography game up. So subscribe to the show today. That's twit.tv/hop. And I look forward to talking to you soon.